Providence here in West New York, New York State, and I'm licensed to preach and ordained as a minister, and I have my PhD in Sacred Biblical Studies. And I'd like to thank you for joining me today. And today I'd like to talk to you on a continued basis of my book, Valley of Dry Bones Live Again. Okay, Valley of Dry Bones Live Again. Okay, now we all have dry situations, and this book is available on barnesandnobles.com, Amazon Kindle, as well as lulu.com, and at a bookstore near you. You can message me on my YouTube channel at sblack3001, and I will hook you up with the links where you can get a copy of the book. Now, the book represents, I started writing the book as it was started out as a speech, but I wanted to write it because, of course, you know, whenever I'm going through something, I always research the Bible to try to find the answers. And this was particularly interesting when I found, when I started looking up some stuff about Valley of Dry Bones. Now, whatever your dry situation is for you, dry meaning parched, you know, that means that you're without. You know, that means that it is so dry that, you know, it's probably not even no resemblance of that it ever was there. You know, this is what I'm meaning by being dry. I mean that you're just so tired and you're just so fed up with things going the way they are. You know, you're working harder today than you was yesterday, and it doesn't seem like your dreams will ever come to pass. It don't seem like things will ever happen for you. You know, it's just taking too long for, you know, your health seems to be going bad. The doctor's giving you all these reports. You're going through all of this mess and all this stuff and this junk. Your family life is, you know, up in turmoil. You're getting a divorce. Your house in foreclosure. You know, all these kind of things. Maybe not all of them at once, but any one of them could bring us down and make us feel like, you know, laying down and just keeling over, okay? But don't do it, my brothers and sisters, because there's hope. And I write the book because, you know, I had came up with some subjects like Valley of Dry Bones Live Again. I had been asking God, and then instead of me looking at the negative things, He began to show me the positive things that I actually have working for me in my life. Even though they may not have appeared to have materialized right now the way I want them to, but they were part of my life. And, you know, and I asked for them and I got them, but yet, you know, don't seem like I have them. You know, it's just like so much stuff, you know, going on that you just, you know, you want what you want when you want it. That's all there is to it, the bottom line. And then when you ask God to fulfill His promise, and then it seems like He doesn't hear you. It seems like He's gotten silent on you, and then you think that you did something wrong. But meanwhile, your situation is just drying out, completely drying out. Okay, sort of like the city of Jerusalem, when Jerusalem was completely destroyed. All of its inhabitants and the temple, the buildings, even innocent people who came to visit for Passover were actually destroyed in the massacre. That's what I call it, the massacre. The massacre of Jerusalem, because they were pretty much, that's what they did. They just destroyed everyone. It's like they had been wanting to get the Assyrians back, you know, because the Assyrians had control over, you know, the war. They perfected weapons that were quite effective, that were highly effective. And, you know, as soon as their leader died, you know, now they said, now we can get them back. You know, and that's the way it appeared to be, you know, that that's when they began to attack. And they did not give up. They did not stop attacking the Assyrians until they conquered and defeated every last one of them. And they didn't care who they hurt. They just wanted them destroyed. They wanted them gone. Okay, and you know how people are today. You know, they want what they want because, you know, because they serve a different God than the God that you and I serve. But they don't realize that the God that we serve is the one, you know, true living God, and He's more powerful than any God. Okay? But I call today's topic the scars of war. Okay, now as you know, I was talking about Valley of Dry Bones Live Again, and last time I talked, the topic was, can these dry bones live? Again, can these dry bones live again? And the answer is yes. Okay, I talked to you about how the Assyrians, they had, you know, perfected the weapons, okay, the Neo-Assyrian Empire, how they had effectively affected the weapon. And the Babylonian rule, the destruction of Jerusalem, and the siege of the city. Okay, the siege of Passover and the conquest of Egypt. Okay, so, you know, we're talking about a lot of war because we're all going through a war right now. You know, we're all on the battlefield for the Lord, but every day of our life is a war. We're fighting. We're on the battlefield for the Lord, fighting for our lives. Fighting to stay alive, fighting for our salvation, constantly fighting. And the devil is fighting for our souls as well. He's fighting to capture us, fighting to get us to turn to him. Okay, fighting to get us to turn away from God. Okay, so we're constantly in a war and in a battle. And I started the book out talking about the wars because I wanted to emphasize with great detail and allow you to visualize a physical war and then symbolize how that war relates to you in your life today. And today's topic was just found in chapter 2 of my book, Valley of Dry Bones, Live Again. It's got entitled The Scars of War. Okay, now some of us who turn to God have physical and or emotional wounds that may or may not have healed. My scars are both emotional and physical. We all have scars, and some of us are born with scars, and some of us have scars inflicted upon us later on in life. I believe that our scars are generated from birth and manifested in our younger years. As we grow up, our parents have scars that they inflict scars upon us, and now we have to figure out a way to overcome the wounds that have been inflicted upon us, trying to overtake us. Okay, and it seems like we have to do this on our own, because the people who inflicted the scars on us, they have scars as well. If they knew how to get rid of the scars, they would have gotten rid of the scars, but they didn't. Okay, and we have to do this on our own. They hurt, so they hurt people. Hurting people hurt people. Now, your physical wounds may have left you disfigured or blemished or even flawed, while your emotional wounds may have left you in anguish, torment, or even traumatized. I am not my wounds, okay? I am not my wounds. I am a child of God. My scars did not make me, nor do they break me. I never thought low of myself because I was wounded, but I kept my head up high and decided not to be like the world. I wasn't embarrassed because I had these scars, but I used to be ashamed because of the way people treated me. People seemed like they wanted me to feel embarrassed, the way they looked at me. Okay, I wasn't embarrassed because I had the scars. I used to be ashamed because of the way people treated me. But people seemed like they wanted me to feel embarrassed. The way they would look at you, talk to you, treat you, was really a reflection of how they thought of themselves. But they tried to make you feel bad because they saw your scars. Okay? I dealt with my scars with ease because I believed that they were not permanent. If I could just get away from the perpetrator, I thought, I would be able to live my life the way I wanted to live it, even with my scars. I wasn't born with the scars, I don't believe. They were inflicted upon me by someone who hated me and wanted to kill me. That was the shameful part. Still, I blamed myself. I punished myself for past hurts, but I was determined to go on and find my own way. I did not know about how to effectively mask my scars, not cover them up per se, but overcome them. Okay? You know how some people, they try to find a pain reliever to cover up the pain, but then the symptoms are still there, you know. So rather than getting to the root of the problem, you're masking the pain and you still have the problem. Okay, so I didn't want to, cover them up. I wanted to overcome them completely. I wanted to stop the pain, the agony, the aching that I felt inside of myself because of what other people thought. A lot of other people, they thought that they were better than I was. Now, I did not look at my infirmities as a bad thing. You learn to live with your imperfections and go on with your life. You learn to live with your scars. Okay. You learn to live with your imperfections and go on with your life. You do the best that you can with what you have, even as comfortable as it may seem. Okay, I didn't worry about my scars. I wasn't upset because I had visible scars. I wasn't saddened by it either. But I wasn't happy, the fact that I had these scars. Okay, they were just there, they just existed, and that was all that there was to it. As far as I was concerned, I wasn't happy, but I was content while I sought happiness. I was determined not to let my scars, my wounds, my lacerations hold me back. For me, I believed that my scars would not hold me back, and they never did. And I believed that one day my lesions would disappear, and I would be free to live my life like a normal human being. Then I would have to define the word normal. What is normal? I realized that through it all, I'm okay. I'm okay with me. I'm okay with my scars. This is who God made me, and I'm going to make the best of it. I was at peace with my scars, but others seemed to be bothered by them. As a result of them being bothered, they would bother me. And I just wanted to be left alone. Sometimes people wanted too much out of me. They acted like I should be overjoyed to please them because my scars, in their opinion, made me undesirable. So I was supposed to take what I could get in their mind. But I thought higher of myself than that, and I did not succumb to the world. I wasn't relying on man, and I never did rely on man for my salvation or for anything for that matter. I always looked to God. Okay, man was a conduit. He is a conduit in which to the blessings flow through. Okay, but even despite my scars, my wounds, my abrasions, I'm okay with me. I'm okay. I'm at peace with myself. I was different, always have been. And while my scars were not extremely prominent, they could still be seen with the naked eye. And people looked at me funny, staring or commenting on my scars. Try to make you feel uncomfortable, more uncomfortable than you already feel. I was treated differently than those who had no physical scars or emotional wounds at all. Or at least they tried to hide their emotional wounds by picking on me and pointing out my flaws. And so that was supposed to cover up their flaws. But my emotional scars kept me in church, but even church folks and others treated me differently, like I was a sinner because I possessed these scars. I just went about my day every day as normal, taking care of business as if I had no scars. My scars was not as important to me as it was to others. My scars did not make me any less attractive, and I never thought of myself as pretty, but I never thought of myself as ugly either. I just wanted to live my life and make my decisions based on what I wanted. I never put emphasis on my exterior, my looks, the way I dress, my job, my home, my family, my friends. I never put emphasis on any of that. I always trusted and relied, first and foremost, was God. Okay? And my decisions that I wanted to do, okay. And I always have desired, I've always been desired, envied, even hated despite my scars. People wanted from me selfish desires, but they did not want to go through the hell and high water that I've been through. They just wanted to reap the rewards of my labor. They didn't want to go through the hell and high water that I've been through, the fight to stay alive, having my walls of protection torn down, leaving me desolate and alone, even to the brink of death. But life still breathes in me. And it kept me going. God kept me alive, despite the many attempts on my life, which left scars. And I was determined to continue the fight, to hope, pray, with or without my scars. My scars was not going to stop me. Now Thomas, in the Bible, is informally referred to as Doubting Thomas, because he doubted Jesus' resurrection. When first told in the Gospel of John, according to the John account only, followed later by his confession of faith, "My Lord and my God," on seeing Jesus' wounded body. Now the Bible says, this is when Jesus appears to Thomas. In John 20:24 to 29, New International Version, the Bible reads thusly, "Now Thomas, also known as Didymus, or Doubting Thomas, one of the 12, was not with the disciples when Jesus came, when he rose from the dead, when he was resurrected. So the other disciples told him, 'We have seen the Lord.' But he said to them, 'Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe.' A week later, his disciples were in the house again, and Thomas was with them. Though the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, 'Peace be with you.' Then he said to Thomas, 'Put your finger here. See my hands? Reach out your hand and put it into my side. Stop doubting and believe.' Thomas said to him, 'My Lord and my God.' Then Jesus told him, 'Because you have seen You have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. And may the Lord add a blessing to the reading of his word. Now I believe, like Ezekiel did, okay, that my dry bones would live again and become a great army. My lacerations, my rips, slashes, and tears were not going to stop me. Jesus was crucified on the cross at Calvary, died and rose from the dead 3 days later. The nails that were embedded in his hands and feet left a scar. When they pierced him in his side, it left a hole, and that was considered as a scar. When Jesus rose from the dead and appeared before Thomas, Jesus still had his scars. The hole in the side was still there from when they pierced him. The holes were still there in his hands and feet, even after Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus' resurrection from the dead created a seat for him at the right hand of God. But he still had his scars. His wounds, his mutilations were still very visible. His body was flesh and bone now, and his body was, now flesh and bone, okay? And now he has miraculous powers and is capable of entering into a room by walking through walls. A glorified body he has. Okay, Jesus wears his scars in his body in earth and in heaven as jewels, precious jewels. The wounds of Christ are his glories. They are precious to the eye of the beholder. Scars can be damaging if left untreated. Now, after Jesus suffered through the scourging, the beating in his face, crucifixion, his body was torn to shreds. 39 lashes of beatings would have left any man with a body without a body. Okay? There would have been a medical devastation. Okay? And that's what they probably figured. They probably got tired of beating him because they figured 39 lashes and the man ain't dead yet. So they, inevitably had to hang him on the cross. But as the flesh had been torn from Jesus' body, the muscles and ligaments began to become exposed, often leaving vital internal organs exposed to the outside elements. Many a man died back in Bible day when they received only between 10 to 15 lashes from the scourge. The fact that Jesus survived all 39 lashes is an indication of his strength, but also sure proof that his body was barely recognizable as a human being after those 39 lashes. Jesus' scars did not prevent him from being resurrected from the dead, with all power in his hand. Despite all the torture he endured at the cross, Jesus still had his scars when he was seated at the right hand of God. His scars did not stop him from taking his place next to his Father in heaven. His scars did not go away just because of the glorified body that Jesus now has been resurrected in. Just like when we are resurrected from our death situation, our scars may still be there. They may never go away. But it's not going to be because our scars tell the story of how we have overcome. Okay? Now, in Leviticus, Moses describes stoning as Israel's approach for the death penalty. It was fast and painless. Okay, a single blow to the head would stun the victim into unconsciousness until they become faint and die. But the Romans' way was supposed to be far more painful and humiliating. They attached their victims' arms above their head to a single straight pole and nailed their feet to the bottom and left them there to die, perhaps by asphyxiation, which would, in the position, the weight of the body restricts the ability to breathe. And death came for Jesus by slow suffocation and enduring in an embarrassing spectacle. Have you been hung on a cross and left for dead? Have you been nailed? Have you been mocked, ridiculed, stoned, and accused falsely? Have they laughed at you because of the clothes that you wore? Did you know somebody that's on the cross today? There's no glamour on the cross of Christ. No light, only demise. Darkness, no power, only weakness. No glory, only shame. Very similar to the life of a child of God. Our life, to the naked eye, appears to be dark and dismal. It appears to have no power or control over what is happening to us in our lives. No light, no glamour, no strength. But Christ was lifted up only high enough from the ground so that his feet would not touch the ground. This embarrassment of crucifixion is the height of Christ's descent, from the highest glory to the lowest embarrassment. Jesus knew he was going to die. He predicted it. That's why he came to earth, with power and ability far beyond those of mortal men. The final night of Jesus' earthly life began with the celebration of the Last Supper with his disciples. Jesus, in an act of humbleness, washed the feet of his disciples. We can sense when darkness overcomes us or will overcome us, but we can also sense God's presence and know that we are not alone in our dry place. Or at least we should know that we're not alone, and if you don't know it, I'm telling you now, you're not alone in your dry place. The enemy has been fighting us for so long, and in the flesh, and it appears as if they will win. Okay? And that's why they're still fighting. However, God has the final say, and so do we. If we speak defeat, then you'll be defeated. If you speak victory, then you will have victory. You'll be victorious. I have seen both defeat and victory in my own family. Those that spoke hope and victory triumphed over the enemy. Now Jesus and his 11 disciples left the upper room and headed toward the Mount of Olives. Judas had left earlier in the evening to arrange the betrayal of Jesus. While he was walking along the way, Jesus prayed for a number of things. Once they reached Gethsemane, Jesus withdrew a short distance from his disciples. Jesus prayed again, and he asked God the Father about the events that he would soon experience. He also prayed for his own disciples, as well as those who would someday believe in him. He also prayed for himself. But so often, my brothers and sisters, when we are faced with tremendous defeat, okay, we forget to pray for ourselves. We pray for everybody else. We pray for our situation. We pray for our family. Okay, but what about giving ourselves a little bit of credit? We should pray for ourselves and believe that our prayers are answered as our words are spoken out of our mouths to the Lord our God, that he hears us. The traitor Judas arrived with religious leaders and soldiers. A large crowd came to arrest Jesus, and he offered no resistance whatsoever. Instead, he asked them, why did they come after him like he was some kind of criminal? And Jesus was arrested and then taken away without being given an answer. A number of trials occurred during the night and the early morning, and Jesus appeared before the high priest and the Sanhedrin, Pontius Pilate. And then he was sent back to Pilate. Although Pilate admitted that he found Jesus innocent, he still presented him to the crowd to suggest how Jesus should be punished. The crowd said, "Crucify him." Pilate gave in to the crowd and ordered Jesus to be crucified. Okay, Jesus was taken down from the cross after he died by friendly hands. He was anointed with spices, then buried in the tomb of a rich man. This ended the Jesus life on earth. Wait a minute. This ended the Jesus life on earthy. Okay, I gotta take that out. This ended Jesus' life. His earthly life, okay? This ended Jesus' earthly life. Okay, from a human perspective. It looked like everything was over for him. Okay? You didn't really think it was over though, did you? Okay. The people of Nazareth inflicted suffering on Jesus, and Judas tried to make money off Jesus. Jesus' suffering. Simon Peter, Judas also betrayed Jesus. They lied on him, and he died in the wilderness alone. And his disciples rejected him, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquity. Okay? He was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquity, and the chastisement of our peace was upon him. And with his stripes we are healed. That's got to be good news. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth, and he was brought as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison from the judgment, and who shall soon declare? Here's the clock. Who shall soon declare his generations? For he who was cut off out of the land of the living for the transgressions of my people, was he stricken? Yet he overcame every adversary. He did not give up or back down, and Jesus did not change his mind or change allies. Okay, now this will conclude part 1 of The Scars of War, taken from my book, Valley of Dry Bones Live Again, which is available on BarnesandNobles.com. Okay, and this is a very interesting topic, actually. And it's, nothing that you really have to use your imagination for. It's pretty plain and simple. But when you think about dry bones, you think about something parched, something lacking, something that's just not there, something that may not have been there for a while. Maybe you may have had it at one point and now it's not there anymore. And you're asking God, you're begging God, Lord, please restore to me what's mine. Help me to, why are you so quiet against me? Why, haven't you answered me? And all of these things are wondering, what I mean? But we need to have faith. We need to have trust and know that our God's timing is the best thing that we could ever hope for. Okay, because God knows what he's doing. Okay, and when it's the right time. And he has his reasons for his timing as well. He wants us to be prepared and ready for the blessing. Okay, you ask for it with such vehemence that obviously you really, really want it. And he doesn't want us to lose it. He wants us to take with it and grow. He wants us to be able to glorify him with the blessings that we're asking him for, that he's going to give us. And he wants us to be blessed as well with it. God has his reasons for what he does. And you might want to ask him, Lord, why are you waiting so long to bless me? And then you look around in your life, but you think about the positive things. How far have you overcome since yesterday? Not as far as you can overcome tomorrow. But if you look at it in a negative aspect, then you'll always constantly be down on yourself. You'll beat yourself up and what have you. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to join me next week. We're going to talk about this again. The Scars of War Part 2. Okay? You can get a copy of my book, Valley of Dry Bones, on Lulu.com, BarnesandNobles.com, as well as Amazon Kindle. And ask you to holler at the sister as you next week.